To this now, the family of Mfundo Gcaba, who are prominent figures in the KwaZulu-Natal taxi industry, denies in a statement any involvement in the murder of rapper Kiernan aka Forbes and Tebello Motsoane. This is contained in a media statement that has been submitted as evidence in the Durban Magistrates Court in the bail application of 5 of the 7 men accused in this case. The other 2 men who were arrested at Eswatini are yet to be extradited. The investigating officer previously said in a sworn affidavit that the 800,000 rand payment for the hit came from one of the Mfundo Gcaba's companies. The matter has been postponed to the 2nd of May. SABC News reporter Vusi Khumalo has more on the story.
Adjourned or postponed to the 2nd of May. We are expecting this matter to be wrapped up, especially with regards to the bail hearing of the 5 accused who are accused of killing AKA last year in February. But to make sense of what was happening inside court is, of course, second accused by the name of Lindani Ndimande, as well as the 4th accused, Mzoe Gwabeni. They were there just to give their submissions after the affidavits by the state. Let us talk to the legal analyst, Abigail Ngobene. Please take us through, just to recap on what's really transpired today. We know that the 5, all 5 of them, especially the last 2, they are distancing themselves, even especially from the scene where the AKA and his friend was killed.
You'd remember that that's what we were expecting, of course, to hear them rebut the evidence of the IO's affidavit, trying to place the applicants onto the scene of crime. But of note, they have particularly said that the IO keeps on placing them in the vicinity of crime through the cell phone, to say the cell phone places them in the vicinity. And they are saying there is no evidence to the effect that whether or not he did elaborate more on the issues of kilometers, to say, when you place me and in the vicinity, what do you mean by that? And of course, even Gwabeni went to an extent through his affidavit replying to the state's affidavit that the airport is a national key point. He would have expected that at least there be things like recordings, videos that place him on the vicinity. And he says a mere fact that there was a cell phone record is not sufficient for him to be placed within the scenes of crime in terms of the IO's affidavit.
Yes, and also, of course, saying that he played no part, and on that fateful night he was home.
It is very much interesting, and we would hear on how the magistrate, of course, after the arguments are being delivered by both parties, to say what could be the reasonable prospect when he looks at both the application and the responding affidavit from the state. But you'd remember as well that there are issues such as a virtual card, which says the fact that there is a virtual card that is in my name used at a particular place does not necessarily mean I was there. And he went on to speak about issues such as the monies. You remember the monies, the 800,000. He went on to elaborate on issues of how that 800,000 has found itself into his account, and the fact that what was the reason for distributing that amount.
And also questioning the states, saying that why it did not arrest Mfundo Gcaba if it was really serious, to say that all of them are involved in the killing of AKA.
But you'll remember as well that the state just do not arrest. And I'm alive to the issues that they also read a lot of statements, even the public statement of the Gcaba family into the record. It will be upon the state on whether or not they find any wrongdoing, which they said initially that they don't rule out further arrests, they don't rule out further investigations. But it will be premature for him to come and say, why did they don't arrest at that particular time, given that they have opened their own room to say, as and when we are convinced that there was a commission of an offense at that particular stage, they may act, but we cannot preempt the process and say this is how the state is going to react. And to take the furthermore, he is also saying that was just a business transaction, and if it's a business transaction, then it means there must be a further investigation to investigate on whether or not that transaction doesn't amount to a criminal offense.
Will you still say that the state's case is still tight?
From where I'm sitting, I think the state's case is very tight. Remember that we are not ventilating into the facts. We are not ventilating into who did what. Most of the things that I've heard the applicants saying, they admit the fact that, like the other one says, yes, I did receive the money, but the money was not for that. The other one says the fact that you are saying the IO's affidavit says it was on 10 past, the other affidavit of the DPP in case then says half past. Those nitty-gritties, yes, they cause material differences, but it will also depend on ventilation, on whether or not, on probability and on reasonable doubt. Can the magistrate says, or on a trial court, can they say that the state was able to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt? But for the bail application, I think the state have done all that they needed to do, and of course, it's now on the court to determine on whether or not the accused persons were able to discharge exceptional circumstances, to say when we have regard on the exceptional circumstances, balancing that with the interest of justice, they do permit their release on bail.
Thanks,
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's the legal analyst, Abigail Ngobene, saying that the matter, it will be very interesting to hear, especially from the both sides, as well as from the magistrate himself, who has to determine whether the bail is given or not on this matter.
Vusi Khumalo there for us.